Welcome back, horror fans. If you went into Witchboard expecting predictable remake, think again. Might have had a couple of twists and surprises, possibly, but we'll find out on your upcoming review right here on Killer Cuts. 25 episodes of Killer Cuts, 25 chapters of Killer Cuts. This is a great celebration to be having. I wish it was on a much stronger film. Not going to say that this was a total disappointment, but we'll get to that in just a moment. I'm Bobby Munson, and sat beside me, as always, it's my partner in crime here on this show. It is the natural Astrid Pizarro. How are you doing today, Astrid?
I'm trying to see how I begin to think about this one and discuss it with you. How are you?
I'm thinking I'm doing a little bit better. I know you alluded to this one on our last chapter when we were talking about The Strangers Chapter 2 last time out, and you were torn. I think you weren't sure if this one was worse or if the Strangers Chapter 2 was worse. And I kind of was like, really? I was like, I'm intrigued to learn more, because honestly, I didn't think this was nearly as bad as what I was anticipating, but I went in with lowered expectations. So we'll talk about that shortly. So Witchboard, it's a remake. I've seen the original so long ago, and I've only ever seen it once. So I have zero comparison. I have no idea how to compare this, and I'm not even going to attempt to try to compare it. Did not do the research to try to do it either. So here we are, written and directed by Chuck Russell. This movie stars Madison Eisman, Aaron Dominguez, Jamie Campbell Bower, Campbell Bower, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from Stranger Things, later episodes of Stranger Things. Vecna, if I'm not mistaken, is Stranger Things. I think he's fantastic in that, by the way. So yes, they're all in this supernatural horror film based around you guessed it, a witchboard. Yay, that was hard to figure out. So set the scene for me, Astrid. I want to know your thoughts on Witchboard going into this, and tell a little bit of the story about how you went to about going to see this one.
So I'll say, I think Strangers Chapter 2 is definitely worse than this one, at least. Well, this one for me was because my partner got the alert on the Atom app that they were giving out free movie tickets for this one. And he said, why not? We both like horror movies and it's free. So, and I told him that not always, I would say not 100% of the time, but most of the time when they give you free tickets because the movie's not doing well, and they basically use you to promote it in a way, because then you watch, and if you enjoy it, then you talk about it, or whether also on the other side of it, whether it's positive or negative, it still gets people talking about the movie. That's what they want. So going into this one, I had no idea it was a remake. I had no clue whatsoever what it was about. I had seen no promotion for it whatsoever. So he's like, "Do we watch?" And I was like, "You know what? Why not? Let's see how it goes. What's the worst thing that can happen?" For me, what drew my attention to it was Jamie, because I had seen Jamie way before Stranger Things. I had seen him in Twilight, and I had seen him in Mortal Instruments before. So it's a book adaptation by the book by Cassandra Clare. And obviously we've seen him in Stranger Things as well. So for me, it was him just seeing like, oh, I like him and how he's an actor. So I'm curious to see what he does in this movie. Like I said, hadn't done, all I did was watch the trailer beforehand and then went in to see the movie a couple of days after. So for me, it was more like, oh, I seen him in Twilight, and I'm like, I like how his acting, so why not check out the film? And I was curious because then I realized while looking it up that the movie says it's from 2024, and I went, so why are we talking about it now in 2025? Because it feels kind of weird that they're releasing it now. And then when I went to look it up online, it was mostly about like, oh, it was in a film festival, and basically the feedback was like so, to put it like that, to the point that they didn't know whether they would release it or not. Hence why it probably only was one movie theater that was playing it, which is the one that we went to. But for me, what had me about this movie is that I feel like it's trying to do too many things at once. Because I like the overall like theme behind it. The girl getting curious about the witchboard and everybody like dying around her. And that kind of reminded me a lot of Final Destination in that aspect of it. But I think when the part that really I feel like they were trying too hard was the fact that when we get Jamie's character, his name is Alexander, having him be a part of like the past, and he's using basically the main character, the late is it yeah, Emily, using her basically in her body to bring back somebody from his past, and then switching their bodies. Like that whole part of it for me was just like you're trying way too hard at this point of trying to do too many things at once in this movie. I did like the characters. I like the fact that we get more in the characters' background to them, especially like Emily and Christian. So you get a feel for them more often, and I like that about them. And the fact that we can, I feel like if we can connect a little bit more to them as not only characters, but in like them being in a relationship too. But it's just overall the fact that I feel like they were doing way too much at the same time. I did like how it finished and how it closed at the end. But I just like I feel like there was just too much for just one movie. Um, it just felt like I also feel like a combination of other movies too, because like I said, it reminded me of like the Final Destination, but you get the Ouija board kind of thing from like other movies too that we've seen in the past. So I feel like there was a mix of other movies in there. I feel like that it that was something that was different for me. I did like the setting of New Orleans. Since I went to New Orleans and I like that it matches up with that setting and the the French background that we have from the movie too, all that sort of thing. I do like how they give us an explanation at the end of everything by giving us like the flashbacks and the back and forth until we figure out what really is happening altogether in the movie. But I just felt like it was too much, in my opinion.
And I totally get where you're coming from too. I mean, we're talking about a movie where, yeah, the general premise, we find a witch board. It's got a long history behind it. It starts off with the woman Emily getting into it, starting to use it, finding that there's benefits to it, but then it also has repercussions. And then we get further into it, and then it becomes this whole body switching situation and the resurrection of the original witch whose witchboard this belonged to. It really gets a lot of things going, a lot of cogs turning in this one in order to get to that finale and everything. And yet it's not like an incredibly long movie. We're not talking like this is some sort of 3-hour long, drawn out thing. And yet there's so much there to unwind. It almost felt like this was designed better for a mini series, like a TV mini series of some kind, or even a continued series of some kind, that it would lend more to giving the further depth to the characters, the explanations, the things that happen and the repercussions from them. Because just as you're getting into some of the great pieces of it, then it kind of turns and does something else. And then it turns and does something else. I thought some of the scenes were very clever. The scene in the restaurant, which was set up by giving those crazy mushrooms to everybody in there, I thought was an interesting take on things. I mean, right away I looked at those things and I'm like, yeah, those don't look like standard mushrooms you'd see in a restaurant or anything like that. I'm not too sure about cuisine everywhere in the world, but somehow I don't know that mushrooms that look like they came straight out of the Super Mario Brothers games is exactly something I would put high on my list of wanting to test out. But needless to say, there's a lot of great visuals throughout this movie. I think that it does a lot of certain things correctly, and at the same time, it's not like there's no wow factor about it. It's not like you leave this thing going, oh my god, I've got to go have more. I want them to make another Witchboard. I really don't. I'm good with this one being that's it. And I don't think, like you're saying, with the fact that it came out in 2024 to the festivals, didn't do great, has this small run in theater. Like for you in theaters, I had to find this movie. I had to dig deep to find this movie. This movie did not exist in my area. Because that's the thing. When you live in smaller areas, you don't get these types of films usually, because we don't have enough theaters that want to show those types of movies. They want to show the ones that are going to draw people in, make the big dollars really quick, keep the places open. We don't have those smaller theaters and the ones that want to bring us every single film that comes out. So that one was very difficult for me to check out. I liked it. I didn't love it. I still, again, up against the Strangers Chapter 2, it's night and day. This is a way better movie, not as disappointing in any ways. And because of my lowered expectations, I think that's another reason I found enjoyment while watching Witchboard. in particular. But as for scares, I don't find movies like this scary. I'm not. I have a hard time finding a lot of movies scary for that matter, but I try to see it from other people's perspective. It doesn't really have a lot of scary moments, I would say. Nothing that really is going to jump out, make a person sit there and go, oh my goodness, I could not sleep after seeing that. There was nothing there. I mean, my wife watches these movies with me, and there's movies that she, if there's too much gore, she'll have to close her eyes. If it's really haunting and chilling, she gets nervous and scared, things like that. This one, it was kind of like she was like, like it had zero effect on her in terms of scaring her and stuff. She was interested. There was enough intrigue in the general storyline and everything like that. Like, she loves witch movies for the most part, but it was nothing that like shocked her or made her go, oh wow, that was okay, that was scary, or anything like that. Nothing that lingered at all anyway.
Yeah, I feel like it was also a little bit too long, because I didn't realize until afterwards that I forgot what movie I was in, and I thought, what else is going to happen in this movie? And then I looked at it, and it's like, it's almost 2 hours long. And it feels like a lot longer than the 2 hours. Like, I seen the Avengers movies, they're 3 hours, and I didn't feel that way about them when I watched them. And this one, I just felt like it dragged. And then, we always like to compare this, and even looking at like the money it made, because a budget of $15 million for this movie, and it only made $496,000. Like, ouch. How that hurts me inside. And it's just like you said, I like the fact, I think this could have definitely been better as a mini series or some type of like shows, like the way CW used to do, kind of like a Vampire Diaries sort of thing. I feel like that would have intrigued people with the background of having New Orleans there and things like that. And I feel like you could have done something very limited with one of the streaming services with something like this, for example. Because I like the way it all resolved at the end. I like that we get everything answered at the end of the movie. But I just felt like it was too much at the end of it. And I was like, what is going to happen at this point? Because then he's like trying to reincarnate that person. And then she realizes that it's somebody from her past, and she wants to kill them. And then the thing with the mushrooms and I'm like, wait, and there are people dying that are close to her boyfriend, who's upping up with who has a restaurant opening too. So I thought at first it's like, it feels very like Final Destination, the way everybody was like dying as the Witchboard thing was happening, and nothing was happening to her until later on. And I just feel like it was too much of it like going on. And I feel like I have no other way to explain it other than that. I did enjoy watching it, because I feel like I was wondering what was going to happen next. But at the same time, I just like that. I'm like, it's so ridiculous at the end at the same time. And that's why I said, for me, Stranger Chapter 2 is like definitely, if I'm going to go like Melba and say worse than this one. But it's one of those, like, it's definitely on my list of like, it's definitely one that I feel like I feel bad recommending it to people, because I don't want people to feel like they're wasting their time watching it. But I still don't want to say like that, because it's unsafe at the same time. But I'm glad that I watched it for free. I'll say that.
Yeah, and again, like with me, I'll pretty much watch anything. I'll give most things a try once at least. So it's never wasting my time to recommend me check something out, even if it is bad. This one wasn't terrible. We keep going back to the Stranger Chapter 2, and I think you could pretty much compare anything up against that, and it's gonna be a winner. You say this one's 2 hours, and it's so strange, because you're right, it feels kind of long, and yet I watched this the same weekend that I watched the new movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Battle After Battle, or whatever. Again, it's slipping my mind right now. That movie's like 3 hours. And that movie did not feel like 3 hours. This one's 2 hours, and it felt longer than 2 hours. So again, it comes down to what interests you and everything. This one, it didn't interest me. It's just, I've seen a lot of this type of stuff before. It wasn't gripping or interesting in a way. It didn't really do a lot. It was fine. It was fine enough to watch once, and if anybody gets an opportunity on streaming when it comes available, if anyone's even interested in when this to streaming, when it does, sure, you're bored one night, there's nothing else to watch, why not, right? I can recommend it in that sense, but I'm not going to tell people to go and rent this on home video streaming or digital or release anything. Don't buy a physical copy of it. You don't need to. It is not worth it for your collection unless somehow you are so diehard into this movie or diehard into the people behind this movie or in the movie. Then do your own thing. I won't tell you what to do, but from a personal standpoint, I won't be revisiting Witchboard ever again.
No, it's one of those like I'm glad I watched it once and that was about it. I feel bad that Jamie's part of this, but I like the casting overall. I enjoy the cast and the characters in the movie, but it's one of those like you said, one and done. I don't. It's one of those I'm not gonna buy. I'm a physical media type of person. This one is not one I'm gonna buy a copy of and collect it or anything like that. It's just one of the things like watched and done, and that's about it. Unless we get something else that I don't think they'll remake or do a sequel to it. So I think we're gonna be fine on that end of it too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't foresee that happening when you lose that much money after making a movie for 15 million and you can't even crack one. Chances are there's no studio on this planet that's going to green light a sequel to this thing, and probably will never green light a remake of Witchboard ever again in the history of time. At least that's what I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. But yeah, overall, not a recommendation. Just watch it on streaming if you must. Otherwise, you could probably skip this one and move on to something better. There's been a lot better horror movies this year alone. There was a lot better horror movies last year, and there's clearly a lot better in line to come out for 2026 coming up as well too, and lots of great stuff that we're going to be able to talk about here on the channel. So hopefully we're going to have a revival of positivity here on Killer Cuts in the not too distant future. Fingers crossed that that's coming our way. But yes, we're going to call it right there because, again, there's not much more we can add to the general conversation about Witchboard. It is what it is. If you want to check it out, check it out. If not, cool. Just glad you checked out this before you went and put in the time. Astrid, why don't you tell the wonderful people where they can find you and what you got coming up?
Yeah, you can find me on Tuesdays doing Taking Over with Ed as we go through and cover a lot of indie companies now. So it's been refreshing to do something different for Taking Over, and we appreciate the support that we're getting on that because it was a leap of faith, but it's working out for us in the end. So very grateful for that too. You can find me on my Twitter, Blue Skies Astrid Pizarro. My Instagram and Threads is Astrid Pizarro 20. And if you're on my YouTube channel, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And not only on mine, but OLE, hit the bell to be notified when we upload or go live.
You bet. Yeah, we always got lots of great stuff coming out here. For myself, Bob Munson, down below, you'll find all my credentials where you can find me on all social media. You can also check me out here on the channel on Thursday nights with Papa Smokes. We give you Ring Respect Radio, where we also talk about indie promotions. We do some coverage of the old school wrestling. And when I say old school, I'm talking 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Then we also do wrestling trivia, lots of fun and games. So go up and check us out live every Thursday night. On Saturdays, you can also check myself and Pop Smokes out. We are on Prairie Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel, where we are your commentary team, bringing you a new match every single Saturday. And then you can join me along with Andre C. and sometimes Ed as well too, for Point of View, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays, where we talk about your week in sports. So check that all out. It's all available on OLE Podcast. As Astrid said, we appreciate all the love and support that we're getting. It seems to be growing here. We're getting subscribers every single day, new viewers, new comments. We appreciate it. Trying to get back to as many of those comments as possible. So please leave those in the comment section. Give the video a thumbs up. Turn on that notification bell. And yes, keep supporting horror, keep supporting OLE, and keep supporting things you love, because that's what we are here for. That's going to be it for us this time. We'll see you in the next chapter. Take care.